Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your guy, Shaun Holko, alongside my guy, Jaevon Toddy. Kevin Dent and Garry Singh are unable to join us tonight, but the show must go on as we got to give you guys this content, especially on a week like this. Jaevon, how are you doing? And you might have some news to share, right?
Oh yeah, new dad alert.
Hell yeah.
So Soph went into labor Friday. Just left the hospital yesterday. So sometimes it's easy when you can just get right through it. You know, I've heard stories. Oh, I was only at the hospital for a day and they released me the next day, or I was a couple of days. No, not me. Chilled in the hospital for about 4 or 5 days. So um, it's cool when you have a bunch of family that loves and supports you, because they're trying to give you snacks. They're door dashing food to the hospital, and so it's not like we were hungry in the hospital or anything like that. But it was an experience. Very, very excited to embark on this new journey in my life, and he couldn't have came at a greater time. So he gets to watch the game on Sunday, which will be his first football game ever, and it's the Super Bowl. How crazy is that? So I'm pretty sure I think we have like a couple of onesies. We were trying to wheel him out and have him in like a Niner onesie, like his first day out the hospital, but the one was too big. So I think we got a couple more somewhere in there. But yeah, I want to just give a shout out to Soph, because she's a warrior. When I
Champion.
say she is a Hall of Famer.
First ballot.
Well, first ballot Hall of Famer. The things that she had to go through was pretty insane. But I would have to say, being a new parent, the thing that I was telling Shaun before in the podcast, things that you take for granted is sleep. And sleep comes at a premium. So it's like, down in those possessions, late game possessions where you need a bucket and you can't score, like 3 minutes left, you're up, you're down 5, and you're down 5 with like 4 minutes to go in a game, and you can't score pretty efficiently, and you need a bucket. So you just have to realize that you're not going to sleep at all. And yeah, it was quite the experience. I want to give a shout out to everybody that reached out after everything kind of went down. So it was really cool. Kind of got to see. I cried. I'm not even gonna lie to you. It got me.
Real men cry.
I was talking to Soph's dad, and he was telling me, he was like, "Yeah, man. Like once you get in there, like when it goes down, he's like, it's gonna hit you and stuff." I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna be okay. I think I'll be all right. And then, when I first saw him, I was like, damn. I started, yeah, it got me.
That's my boy.
It got me for like 2-3 minutes, I'd say, and I was just, super excited. So, yeah, that was it was a very cool experience. Probably the happiest day of my life, I'd say.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
And congratulations to you and Sophia, and shout out to her for everything that
Champion.
she made it through. Champion, first ballot Hall of Famer, warrior. It is truly amazing what women can do and how strong they really are. And I mean, I think if you or I tried to go through that, Jaevon, it would be a lot more of a struggle. But it sounds like
I'll just
she
say,
definitely
for people who've never experienced anything like that, it's very explicit content. Very,
yeah, for sure.
So,
yeah, and that's how to put it lightly, for sure.
You see it all. So there's no going back from that.
Nope, definitely not. But if you're willing to share with the listeners, what is the name of your son?
So we went with Mako Angel Jesus Toddy. Mako is just the name that I came up with. The Angel Jesus comes from her 2 little brothers. Those are their middle names, and then Toddy is obviously my last name. So there you go.
We got another Toddy out on the loose, and as we were alluding to, he was born into greatness. As I said to you in the group chat earlier, I think Mako's about to be like a kid born in Boston or Massachusetts, New England, anytime after 2000, just born straight into greatness. Yeah, Jaevon, you and I, as 49ers fans born in 1998, it's been a struggle for us because the 5 Super Bowls, they preceded us, and we've only seen 2 Super Bowl losses. That all changes on Sunday, but your son, Mako, he's about to be 1 for 1, and he was born into greatness.
Can't wait. Yeah, imagine all the people that were born like during the Brady era. They just saw nothing but championships. Red Sox, Bruins, Patriots. That's insane.
Celtics even got one. Like, man.
Everybody's winning.
Well, I think, obviously your first name's Jaevon. You go by Vaughn. And a lot of us growing up would just call you by your last name, Toddy, as a lot of people call me by my last name, Holko. But I think we can add another nickname to the book. Ladies and gentlemen, I am introducing the Podfather, Mr. Jaevon Toddy.
He texted me that, and I was like, there's no way. So
from Shaun and Vaughn to Stats Over Politics, we're holding it down. And a couple other announcements that I wanted to get to right here on the top of episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics is, first of all, I want to give a shout out to my guy, Garry. He is currently working right now. And he and I, we were trying to coordinate back and forth a lot earlier in the week because Kevin was working. Jaevon was busy being a brand new father. And so Garry and I were trying to coordinate earlier in the week when we would do episode 80. We were going to do it Monday night like we usually do, but then Garry got called into work. We're going to do it Tuesday, and then my boss got sick, had to call out of work, and so I had to cover an extra game, and that pushed Tuesday back. We were going to do it this afternoon, but Mako had a doctor's appointment, and so Garry seceded the floor and said, hey, this is your guys' moment, and you two 49ers fans should be able to preview the Super Bowl. And so I just want to give a shout out to Garry and say we appreciate him. We'll see him real soon because he and I, we really we're just going back and forth constantly trying to find a way to give you guys this content. And so
almost
shout out to Garry. Man, that would have been crazy. That would have been crazy for sure. And the other announcement that we have is we got Jaevon's announcement. Shout out for Garry. But I also want to give a shout out and send love to our guy, Kevin, because Kevin is still a part of the Stats Over Politics family, as he always will be. But unfortunately for right now, he's having to step back, and he won't be able to join us on the podcast regularly going forward. That's kind of just an indefinite thing, and he will be rejoining us soon. He'll still be pumping out the content for us, and we really appreciate him for that. But basically, long story short, he had a change in his work schedule, and so that's why he's going to be unable to join us on the podcast going forward for a bit. And we just wanted to say that right here on the top because, like, we know everyone might try to come for him like Jaevon and I have been all season, but we all know Kevin doesn't duck that smoke. Even when he takes his L's, he takes it right on the chin. So no, we're not going to see him for a while, not because the Eagles lost 6 out of their last 7 games and got bounced by Baker Mayfield. Not because the 49ers are going back to the Super Bowl and they're going to win their 6th Super Bowl this year, but simply just because life happens sometimes. And so Kevin's got a hand to work, hold it down. Sorry, Jaevon, what'd you say?
The life be lifing.
Man, life certainly be lifing. And so just sending love and a shout out to our guy, Kevin. And I'm sure we'll see him again real soon. But as of for right now, we won't be hearing from Kevin on the podcast. But life be lifing. And that's how it goes. And also, I will add, in addition to 49ers making the Super Bowl, Eagles flaming out to end the season. Also, he's not here also because the Kings lost to the Pistons last night. That's also not another reason. Jaevon was clowning us as Kings fans, but you know, life goes on. Life be lifing. So let's not take any more time here on episode number 80 because we got a power hour for you tonight here on a Thursday. And so, Jaevon, let's get right to it with Super Bowl 58 as the San Francisco 49ers, the number 1 seed in the NFC, will be taking on the number 3 seed from the AFC, the Kansas City Chiefs, who are the reigning, defending, undisputed Super Bowl champions, led by Patrick Mahomes and Taylor Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce. Oh, also Andy Reid. He's a pretty good coach too. So anyways, Jaevon, let's just touch on it on the surface for a second. Just what are your early impressions going into this Super Bowl matchup? Because I know last week after the NFC and AFC championship game, you, Kevin, and Garry broke all of that down, so we don't need to dive into that. But now that we're days away from Super Bowl 58, just how are you feeling?
That was quite the WWE entrance that he gave Patrick Mahomes there. I think that's
shout out Paul Heyman.
It's all coming down to, Brock Purdy and, all of the slander that he gets. And, he has to do this in the playoffs. Oh, we haven't seen enough. He leads 2 comeback drives in the postseason to get to the Super Bowl. And let's not forget that in a half a year last year, he got his team to the NFC Championship. comes back, gets hurt in the NFC Championship, comes back the next year off of a torn UCL, gets to the Super Bowl. Like, as a second-year player that was drafted last overall, like literally the last pick of the draft, and is now playing in the Super Bowl, they are going to make a Disney movie about this. Like, this is unheard of stuff. Like, this is like, if his career were to end today, God forbid, knock on wood, if you're with me,
Double knock.
They would make a movie about what he's doing. Like, he already won. Let's just put that at that. Like, he has exceeded far more expectations than a couple of first rounders that were drafted in the same draft that he was in, or whatever draft class. Anyone that was drafted before him, there's probably been a bunch of people who will probably never get to the stature that he's currently at. On the other side, there is a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes. A lot of people refer to him as the baby goat. Garry Singh is one of those people.
He sure is.
He won his first Super Bowl against the Niners back in 2020, the 1920 season. If you look at his stat line in that game, he threw for, I think it was like under 250 yards, and he threw 2 interceptions. And the Niners still lost. Patrick Mahomes does not turn the ball over in the playoffs. It is duly noted that he is a guy that takes care of the football and has beaten, 2 of the better teams. Like, the teams that they beat were, no slouch. Like, they beat the Bills on the road, and they went and beat arguably the best team in the NFL in the Ravens on the road. And everybody's saying, Mahomes, he's never been on the road, this, that, and the third. But then there were a bunch of crazy stats about him being undefeated against the spread, or undefeated, I think, straight up as a dog. This is obviously, gambling talk. We like to gamble on the show.
We sure do.
But it's just like all the things that scream Chiefs. The Chiefs are underdogs again. I'm kind of surprised that they are underdogs in this game.
Me too.
But I'm looking at it from a power rating standpoint of the Niners just have a bunch of just blue chip players, from George Kittle to Brandon Ayuk to Deebo Samuel to Christian McCaffrey to Fred Warner to Travarius Ward, and on and on and on. And I don't think this Chiefs team, going back to the 1920 season, is as talented. They don't have Tyreek Hill. You're kind of looking at it as Patrick Mahomes is basically putting the team on his shoulders. And I think what's going to be very key in this game is stopping the run game. And the Niners have not been very keen to stopping the run during these playoffs. They've had guys like Aaron Jones rush for over 100 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs had his day. David Montgomery did his thing. If Isaiah Pacheco is able to, if the Chiefs are able to get the run game going, I think the Niners are in trouble. Because outside of Travis Kelce, I don't see anybody kind of being able to pose as a threat. Now, I get Rashee Rice has been playing very well in these playoffs, but I think what the Niners' game plan should be is doubling the shit out of Travis Kelce and stopping the fucking run. If they're able to do those two things, which I'm very confident, or let's say confident because the defense has not been playing good, I'm hoping but I believe that the Niners are going to be able to take those things away. Now, Travis Kelce is arguably one of the greatest tight ends of all time. That's coming from a guy in Shannon Sharp, who was also a Hall of Famer, Shannon Sharp, who said that, Travis Kelce is probably the greatest tight end ever. And, Patrick, they have the most touchdowns combined in the playoffs. Literally, they have more than Brady and Gronk. And I never thought that record would have been broken.
And Joe Montana and Jerry Rice.
What these guys are doing is absurd. Travis Kelce kind of went on a hiatus for like 7 weeks of not really scoring or having a great week. But, as soon as the playoffs come, he's scoring 2 touchdowns here, scoring a touchdown here, 100 and some plus yards. Like, he's there when you need him. So I also think on the flip side of it, I think the Chiefs are going to have problems trying to stop this 49er offense, because McCaffrey, I feel like he's going to get going. That's going to open up everything in the pass game. I think we need to get Deebo involved early on those like jet sweeps, those swing pass routes that go for like 30, 40 yards. We're going to need a couple of those. And Brock Purdy's got to show up. He's got to be able to make those throws. He cannot turn the ball over. You cannot turn the ball over against this team because Patrick Mahomes is going to make you pay. We've seen that time and time again throughout the playoffs. Whenever I think the Ravens had like 3 turnovers to their 0, and the Ravens were only able to score 10 points. This is a team that forced 4 turnovers against the 49ers, put up almost 40 points, if not 40, if I'm not mistaken. So it's gonna be a there's just so many different like chess piece battles. You have Shanahan against Andy Reid, 2 of the greatest offensive minds probably in football currently right now. You have the quarterback. You have the 49 Brock Purdy going up against Steve Spagnuolo, him scheming up. Spagnuolo really likes to blitz, and Brock Purdy's really good against the blitz. So I think that's another just thing to kind of watch out for. Another thing I'll watch out for is the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe Joe Thuney is going to be out with a pectoral issue. I haven't really seen anything new about him trying to play because he didn't play in the AFC Championship game 2 weeks ago. That was, and I still don't think that he'll be ready to play. So that's another thing. So we'll kind of watch out for. And Patrick Mahomes, man, you got to be able to. I wouldn't say stop because I don't know if anyone can really stop Patrick Mahomes, but you got to figure out ways.
Probably not.
Down. And I think what the blueprint is getting pressure on Mahomes because I'm going back to the 2021 year when they played against the Bucs in the Super Bowl. That defensive line was getting home on Patrick Mahomes. It was shown that he was kind of running around a little bit and he was under pressure. And I feel like that kind of rattled him a little bit to where it was good enough for the Bucs to get their Super Bowl win against him. So the Niners are going to have to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes in some shape or fashion because you're looking at a bunch of these guys on the D-line, on Hargrave, getting paid a bunch of money, although he was a Pro Bowler. I think he was all pro as well, if I'm not mistaken. You got Nick Bosa, who just signed a huge, massive contract. Eric Armstead's on there, getting paid a bunch of money. So, you got the Randy Gregory's, you got the Chase Youngs. Like, this D-line is built to get to the pass, to the quarterback. So, they're going to have to figure out ways to get home and, stop the run as well. But we all know it's not going to be that easy when you're going up against what people like to call baby goat.
Certainly. And 2 things I want to follow up there is, number one, you mentioned the 2021 Super Bowl between the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, the one Super Bowl that the Chiefs have lost so far in the 3 that they've been to in the Patrick Mahomes era. And the reason why I want to follow up on that is, number one, the Buccaneers defensive line is nothing to scoff at between Vita Vea and Levante David and all the beasts that they had on that defense. However, the Chiefs offensive line in that game was very sus because they had like a couple injuries going in and they just had a lot of fluctuation on their offensive line. And like, that's why I picked the Buccaneers going into that Super Bowl. Like, everyone was like, oh, the Chiefs are going to go back to back, blah, blah, blah. But because of the offensive line, like, you remember that one play where they got the photo of Patrick Mahomes literally sideways as he's like, his feet are off the ground. He's basically diving, but he's diving sideways, sidearm slinging the ball like a baseball player. It was such an amazing play, such an amazing photo, but that was the heroics it took from Patrick Mahomes in that game to even compete. And they lost like 36-9 or something like that. So it wasn't even close. And so I wanted to follow up on that. And secondly, you mentioned how the Chiefs defense led by Spagnuolo really limited the Baltimore Ravens, arguably the best team in the NFL, in that AFC Championship game. The key in that game was the fact that the Chiefs turned the Ravens into a team that they're not, which is relying heavily on the pass, because the Chiefs, yeah, exactly. As for our audio only listeners, Jaevon shows basically the MVP, 2-time MVP, Lamar Jackson dropping back to pass, which he has improved at a lot. And he's continuing to prove the doubters wrong, AKA Bill Polian. He's a quarterback, not a wide receiver or running back. But anyways, the Ravens offense is predicated on them running the ball first and then deciding what to do after that. And the Chiefs really got them away from that. The 49ers offense is predicated on running the ball, whether if it be with Christian McCaffrey, the best running back in the NFL, offensive player of the year. We'll get to that next, but also or Deebo Samuel. And so now, Jaevon, let's just circle back and reflect on Super Bowl 54 real quick, because you mentioned it, and there were two things that I wanted to touch up on with Super Bowl 54. Number one, remembering the George Kittle offensive pass interference
before halftime. Oh my god!
Before halftime, because he's running a post out towards the right sideline. He just very softly pushes off on the Chiefs defender. They decide to call it in the Super Bowl, and that negates like a 25-yard gain that got the 49ers in field goal range. Instead of getting a field goal at least to end the first half and go into halftime with momentum, the 49ers settled for no points. Still, the 49ers went into the fourth quarter leading 20-10. And then the Chiefs scored 3 unanswered touchdowns. They go on to win 31-20. The second thing I wanted to touch up on in that game was the 3rd and 17 play where Patrick Mahomes throws it to Tyreek Hill for like a 50-yard gain.
Broke my heart.
On that play, Nick Bosa was held. It's simple. If you don't believe me, look it up, because there's plenty of photos and videos out there to show that he was held. So much so that when the 49ers advanced to the Super Bowl and the media asked Nick Bosa after the game, what are your thoughts on the Chiefs' offensive line? He literally only said, I know they hold a lot, in his like super quiet, monotone Nick Bosa voice. And it's true, because even to this day, they probably still do. And so my whole point in bringing up those two plays from Super Bowl 54 is the 49ers controlled that entire game. If they get that field goal or even more before halftime, who knows if the Chiefs can even come back in that game. They do have the baby goat, and so they very well could have, but I think that was the difference maker. Also, the Chiefs being able to convert on a 3rd and 17 on a crazy play where Bosa's held, and they throw it to Tyreek Hill. Well, guess what? Breaking news. Tyreek Hill doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore. And so that's a big deal. And like Jaevon said, now you got to double Travis Kelce. So we'll see what the 49ers do in that regard. As now, Jaevon, before we make our game predictions, I just want to ask you what a win would mean for each team. Because for the 49ers, it's obvious. It would be the first Super Bowl in almost 30 years. And for you and I, as two 25-year-olds who have grown up diehard 49ers fans, it would mean everything to the two of us. But before we get to our heart of hearts and our bias being the 49ers, let's think about what a win would mean for the Chiefs, hypothetically. I know neither of us want to think about that as a possibility, but let's put our bias aside, put our Big J journalist hat on, and what would a win for the Chiefs mean in this Super Bowl?
If the Chiefs win, you got to start really asking these conversations. Where does Patrick Mahomes rank as one of the, like, as he's playing right now, like, where is he amongst like the greatest players, quarterbacks ever? That's going to be in that conversation because of the accolades that he just keeps racking up, all pros to Pro Bowls to Super Bowl MVPs, which I would assume he would win if they were to win, and Super Bowls period, because he would have 3, which means I think it's like Terry Bradshaw, Joe Montana, and Tom Brady are the only people who have more than him.
There's one more on that list too.
With
that, yes, there you go. You nailed it. You got all of them.
Yeah, that should have been a Shaun Pop quiz question. Right
it would have been a Shaun Pop quiz if Garry was here, but I don't want him saying that he's taking more DNPs. And so you nailed it though.
So I mean, and then he's already like 3rd in playoff wins right now to Joe Montana and Tom Brady. So I think if he gets another playoff win, he would be like tied with Joe Montana, or he would surpass. I'm not sure. I think it would be tied, if I'm not mistaken.
Montana has 4.
Oh no, I meant playoff wins. Playoff wins.
I'm playoff wins. I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about overall Super Bowls.
If we're just going off stats, his accolades would be like he's had a better career than Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. Like he's kind of already like in that position, but if he gets another Super Bowl, he'd be like, okay, like this guy's like the second best quarterback ever already. It's just like, oh man, probably third because I still got a lot of respect for Joe Montana, and he went 4-0. But that would kind of be the conversation around like he's probably going to play for another like 13, 14 years, probably 10 to like 13 years.
At least 10 for sure.
At least 10. He would definitely finish out his contract. We would be seeing constant AFC Championship appearances because they have never not been in the AFC Championship game since he's been playing in the 6 years that he's playing. So
ridiculous.
That's a ridiculous stat in itself. So it's like, all right, Chiefs fans are expecting to get to the Super Bowl or get to the AFC Championship pretty much every single year. No matter how bad their year looks or, what people are saying in the media, like, oh, the Chiefs, this will probably be the year that, they'll be one and done and this team isn't good enough to get there and this and that. And they still win. They win the division every year. They win. They get to the AFC Championship every year. Mahomes won the division every year. I'm assuming. I think so.
Yeah, pretty sure.
So, I mean, and then you got to kind of start putting Andy Reid in there, too, as one of the best coaches ever because I think it's universally recognized that Andy Reid is a great offensive mind and is one of the best coaches in history. But a lot of people are going to kind of, go back to, he's only got 2 Super Bowls, blah, 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 and this, that, and the third. But, there's been a bunch of situational things that have happened with him, going back to Philadelphia. I think they went to like 4 straight NFC Championship games.
And got to 1 Super Bowl, yeah.
And he only got to 1 Super Bowl. So, I mean, that's another accomplishment in itself. So, and you're also hearing rumblings. I don't think it's true that Andy Reid might retire. But, I mean, if they win another Super Bowl, it's considered a dynasty if you're thinking about it from everything that's mentioned from the AFC Championships to the amount of Super Bowls that they've won in a period of time and how many times it's just, and they're doing it with different types of teams because you have the Tyreek Hill era, Tyreek Hill leaves and, they're kind of just shuffling guys in and out on the, besides Tyreek Hill, they haven't really had like a number 1 receiver. And
Kadarius Toney's not a number 1 receiver because he'll tell you he is.
Yeah, because he doesn't get the ball. But when the ball is thrown his way, he does not catch the ball.
He just has to be
on. Is he playing?
Man, I don't even know, but he's got to, if he does play, he's got to worry about being onside. I hope he's offsides for the 49ers' sake, but he's got to worry about being onside. And as a quick aside, did you see that AI video of an Andy Reid press conference where it was totally fake, but it was AI created and it looked and sounded real, and like Andy Reid was just going in on Kadarius Toney, like it was fake, but he just went off on him, and it's hilarious.
I'll watch it.
Man, you just look it up. Just look up Kadarius Toney, Andy Reid, and I promise you that you're gonna laugh your ass off. And so now, Jaevon, pivoting to our bias, to our favorite team. This is our team. This is our Super Bowl. It feels like, but Patrick Mahomes still scares me. For you, Jaevon, as a diehard San Francisco 49ers fan, we have been through it. But because knock on wood if you're with me, if the San Francisco 49ers complete the quest for 6 and they win the Super Bowl on Sunday, what would that win mean not only to you as a fan individually, but for the franchise in general?
It'd mean everything. You couldn't tell me anything for however long it'd be.
A year, full year.
At
least, unless they repeat.
Everybody that goes for Kaz, Kevin, Garry, everybody in the group chat, all of our followers, anybody on X that wants to mention me. Ev would be a guy that I would go at pretty heavy.
And he deserves it.
I mean, it would just be everything that we kind of witnessed. I think if the Niners win, I think Shanahan is kind of anointed as the best coach in the league, in my opinion. I feel like he's already kind of been up there as one of the best coaches, but it's like, can he win the big game? He's been there a couple of times and hasn't been able to get it done. So
that fourth quarter stats are disgusting.
Kind of sides backstory. I think he'd be recognized one of the best coaches in the league. I think Brock Purdy would be like, all right, he's a top 5 guy. I think if Purdy is able to get the job done, I think that would be a huge. I think Purdy has to play well for the Niners to win, and that would just make him more expensive because if the Niners win, I'm kind of just factoring everything into my head that he probably won Super Bowl MVP. So it's like, okay, yeah, Pro Bowl, Super Bowl, Super Bowl MVP. I'm just gonna write all this down for when it's time for me to get my contract. So, I think, it's just a whole bunch of guys on the team are going to just have a ring on their team, like Trent Williams. I think he's going to go down as one of the best left tackles ever. George Kittle he would get a ring, go down. That would just add to his legacy of just becoming in a Hall of Fame tight end. Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, just kind of going down the line. Fred Warner. There's a lot of guys on our team who will probably become Hall of Famers, and adding a ring to their legacy will just cement on how great they actually were. Now, they kind of already have the accolades to kind of back up what I'm already saying, but to add a championship to their list would just be, it'd be amazing. And kind of going back to the Kyle Shanahan thing, I want to just point out that he's done this with multiple different staffs because every year, when the new coaching cycle comes around, we get a guy picked like Robert Saleh, D'Amico Ryans, Mike McDaniels, like all these guys we've had on our roster, end up becoming head coaches. And
also, not to cut you off, but I just wanted to add that, like, also low-level assistants go on to become coordinators with those new head coaches, and assistant GMs like Adam Peters just left and became the Commanders general manager. So it's happening all over.
And Ram Carthen got taken away to the Tennessee Titans. So I think the Shanahan system is kind of just being, spread from not just from a coaching standpoint, front office standpoint as well. And
the tree is massive.
Yeah. And people are running the same offense for the most part. I know McVay runs it. Obviously, Mike McDaniel runs the same offense as well, too. Texans run the same offense with, I think it's Kubiak, who was our passing game coordinator that D'Amico took from the Niners over to the Houston Texans. So they all run the same offense, too. But I feel like when we have the actual guy who's the play caller as our head coach, none of that really goes away because, usually when you lose a coordinator from a head coach who doesn't really call plays, it's going to, maybe hinder what your offense could look like, ultimately hindering your team. We kind of saw that with Jalen Hurts this past year when Shane Steichen ended up going to the Colts, and the Colts almost made the playoffs. They were a game away. So a lot would change. John Lynch would, be recognized one of the best GMs in the league. It's just so many different storylines that would just happen from the coach, the quarterback, to even the GM on how can. And then you kind of look at it next year like, what's next? Because I believe most of these guys on the roster would be returning. So it'd be like, can the Niners go back and repeat? That'd be another legit topic going into next year. Like, who is going to be the favorite for the Super Bowl next year? And it'd probably be the 49ers if they won on Sunday. And I would probably think that they would be favored in next year's Super Bowl, just from the gambling standpoint. And I think you would look at the NFC like, who would be able to take this team down? Would it be the Packers? Would it be the Lions? Are the Lions going to regress? Are we going to see a new team? We're so used to seeing new teams kind of come out each and every year, kind of go from worst to first. So there's always a new team that kind of comes out, and a team kind of regresses the next year. We saw that with the Eagles last year. They're in the Super Bowl. They get to the playoffs. Don't look too well the next year. Even going back to when the Niners lost in 2019, 2020. But I think injuries had a huge deal to do with that. They were very injury-riddled and kind of end up regressing, and they end up picking – that's the year that they traded up for Trey Lance, and we saw where that went. But, yeah.
Well, hey, and to add to that, too, you saw what Jed York said, right? And for our listeners who didn't hear what Jed York, the 49ers COO, had to say, that basically right after the 49ers drafted Brock Purdy in the 2022 training camp, Kyle Shanahan pulled Jed aside and he said, "Hey, I need to talk to you." And Jed thought, "Oh God, what does he need to talk to me about?" And Kyle basically said, his reps are limited, but as of right now, our third string quarterback looks like our best quarterback. He's better than the quarterback that we have over $20 million invested in. He's better than our quarterback that we have 3 first-round picks and a 3rd round pick invested in. And, now Brock Purdy has gone from Mr. Irrelevant to leading the 49ers to the Super Bowl in his 2nd season.
How many people have done that? Just quarterbacks, period. Like
Russell Wilson is one. I know Russell Wilson won the Super Bowl in his 2nd year. I know that one off the top of my head.
Did
Mahomes
get to? I think he might have got to a Super Bowl his rookie year.
Did he? I know he had that crazy long winning streak. He might have made it to the AFC Championship game.
Like that. Mahomes definitely, he gets to a Super Bowl, his 2nd year or AFC. Yeah, so it's just like it's like a very short list of guys who get to just look at rookie quarterbacks this year. Like CJ Stroud would probably be you could argue Jordan Love, but Jordan Love's been in the league for a long time. But CJ was like a true rookie and got to the playoffs, and everybody was like, whoa, like this guy's really good. And I think Burrow, he got to the Super Bowl like his first full year. Because I believe his first year he got hurt.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
And the next year he came back and was like, oh, Super Bowl. So very short list of guys that even Lamar, like, even though he's a 2-time MVP, it's like it took him a couple of years to kind of get to where he was this year. So Purdy's doing some insane stuff.
Joe Burrow is the only one. I mean, it's Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals, but if we're just talking quarterbacks, Joe Burrow is the only one who has kept Patrick Mahomes out of the Super Bowl in the last 5 years. That's crazy. But, it just shows the greatness of Patrick Mahomes. And so now, Jaevon, as we close things out. Yeah. Tom Brady did beat him in the Super Bowl. That is correct. But, as far as just through the AFC, Joe Burrow's the only one who could get in his way.
He also beat him in the AFC Championship game, the D Ford offsides play. That was
very true. Exactly. So Patrick Mahomes' first year starting was then when Brady beat him in the AFC Championship game, and then the 2nd year that he was starting, technically his 3rd year, was when he beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. And so, yeah. All right, Jaevon. So as we close things out here with our Super Bowl preview on episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy. Now it's time for Vonnie's Hotline, because I asked you earlier, you got some picks for us this week, and you had one. And it's because it's a very, very important game. So, Jaevon, let's hear it. Who you picking to win the Super Bowl, and who you got as the Super Bowl MVP? Let's hear it.
We're going Niners money line. There's nothing else to think about. What are we doing here, guys? What are we doing here? I get it. It's Patrick Mahomes, okay? But it's not like the high-powered Travis. I get Travis Kelce's on the other side. I get Andy Reid. But who else is he going to throw the ball to? I'm very curious to know. Because, you got all-pro Mooney Ward on the other side. So I feel like you should put him on Kelce.
It's better over here.
And I just think the Niners just got too many options, man. Like you said, like everyone said, like you got Kittle, you got Ayuk, you got Debo, you got Christian McCaffrey. So it's like, what can go wrong? So why not take a little gander, put a couple bucks on the Niners money line? If you want to get a little bit crazy, you could take the spread. The spread's 2 points right now. But I do think that I think it's probably going to drop to like 1.5, probably by game time, because we'll see a lot more money coming on the Chiefs. But most of the money is on the Chiefs currently at plus money. I think they're plus 120. Last time I checked, it was plus 120. I could be wrong.
I mean, it makes sense, though, given the stat that you mentioned earlier, where like anytime that Patrick Mahomes is a true dog, that he's always a winner.
Plus 110 is what I'm seeing currently right now. So
that's damn near a pick 'em.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still don't know why, just given it's more of Vegas is doing it off of a power rating standpoint, all the talent that the Niners obviously have versus, I get it, it's Patrick Mahomes, but man, it's going to be tough, man. But Mahomes is once again a dog. And if you bet on Patrick Mahomes and just roll it over from when the playoffs started, you'd be up right now. So you could probably, I wouldn't bet everything that you have if you're just rolling everything over on Mahomes again. But I would probably sprinkle. I wouldn't be mad if you sprinkled a couple of bucks from the value standpoint of you're getting a better value betting on Mahomes right now. But the Niners are at minus 130. I'd take the Niners money line. I don't know why. I just don't see how the Niners win. I don't see how it could get like. I see a world on where the Niners could get up early, and it kind of be like, all right, like. This could be a problem. And then the Chiefs are going to try and battle back late, but I think they'll run out of time. So, score prediction, I'll say Niners win 30-20.
Ooh, I love
30,
it. And
30-20. I also saw another stat is that the Chiefs don't really put up north of like 24 points. Like they don't really score a lot, at least heavily. I think kind of just going back to the divisional game, they put up, I think it was like 24, but I think it went all the way back to like November was like the last time that they put up a bunch of points. And I think that was the game against the Raiders, the first game against the Raiders in Vegas, where they put up like they were down 2 touchdowns to start the game, but then they ended up storming back and scoring like 30 points in that game. So, I think the Niners are going to be able to put up points against this Chiefs defense, and I think the Niners are going to be able to limit Patrick Mahomes. So, going with the Niners money line here. That's the only pick for the week because it's Super Bowl. You got to be focused this week. I get there's going to be some college basketball that I'll probably ending up dabbling into because I'm a degenerate, so we might get a little bit sidetracked. But the main focus is definitely the Super Bowl this week because I've already seen a couple of $1 million bets, 500,000 bets, 600,000. Usually, most people go in pretty crazy for NFL Super Bowl because it's the last game of the year. A lot of people win a lot of money, or a lot of people lose a lot of money. So, Niners money line. That's the play, guys. Put it in.
So you said that the final score that you got is 30-20 49ers. Who's your MVP?
Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, Super Bowl MVP.
I love it. All
right,
so
Diva, or like they'll just try to say anybody else. Like Christian McCaffrey is probably what a bunch of people will say, but I think it's going to be Brock.
Well, I guess I am some people because I got Christian McCaffrey winning Super Bowl MVP. You see right over my left shoulder, if I can actually point correctly. All right, there you go. You can see the actual GOAT, Michael Jordan, number 23. Well, Christian McCaffrey, number 23, is going to be the Super Bowl MVP for the 2023 regular season. Obviously, Super Bowl is being played in 2024. I have the 49ers winning this game 27-24.
McCaffrey's plus like 450. So that's
McCaffrey's definitely got to be one of the favorites among all of them. I would imagine the only one who might be favored ahead of him is Patrick Mahomes, but
Mahomes is plus like 120, 150, 135. Purdy is like plus 235, 210.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Quarterbacks.
McCaffrey is plus 450 all around the board. You got, and then I'll just go down the list. You got McCaffrey plus 450. Travis Kelce at plus 1,200. Deebo Samuel, I'm seeing plus 2,000, plus 2,500.
Ooh, that might be worth a sprinkle right there.
Pacheco 2,500. Rashee Rice plus 5,000. Kittle plus 6,000. Ayuk plus 6,000. Nick Bosa plus 7,500.
Samuel, Ayuk, Bosa. Those would be worth a sprinkle. Like I put $5 on one of those.
Ayuk is a good sprinkle because he could go off and have like a Julian Edelman type of game.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe I should put the $100 that I got from Kevin for Ayuk getting over 1,000 yards. I sprinkle that on. That'd be a good bet. $100 would win me 4,500.
$100 for a Brandon Ayuk bet will win you $6,000, my friend.
Oh, 6,000. Oh yeah, because he's Oh, even better. So that Might be worth a sprinkle.
Something
So
to think about.
most definitely. And so to recap, I have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl 27-24. Jaevon has the 49ers winning the Super Bowl 30-20. Jaevon has Brock Purdy as the Super Bowl MVP. I have Christian McCaffrey as the Super Bowl MVP. I'm sure Kevin and Garry are picking the Chiefs in this game. We know for a fact that Garry is picking the Chiefs because he picked the Chiefs to repeat before the season even started. So he'd be a fool to go against his own pick now. And I would imagine, because Kevin always be politicking, he be hating, he be podding, and so he's probably going with the Chiefs too.
Sean, give yourself some credit though. You picked the Niners to make it to the Super Bowl preseason.
Thank you.
Preseason.
Yeah, and you sure did too.
Yeah,
Jaevon and I, we got it half right. Yeah. We both had the 49ers beating the Jets in the Super Bowl. Oh, that didn't really work out as Aaron Rodgers obviously.
First 5 minutes of the season, it was
over. I remember that vividly because I was covering a game for Woodland in Rio Linda, and I wasn't even watching that game, and I got a text from my friend Keith where he was just like, all right, Rodgers is done for the season. And I was like, did he sprain his ankle? Like, he's probably not done for the season. No, he blew his Achilles. He's done. I was like, oh, well. All right then. Just to give a quick analysis as to why I'm picking the 49ers to win this game 27-24, and I got Christian McCaffrey as the Super Bowl MVP. My two takeaways is, number one, the Chiefs no longer have Tyreek Hill. He was a game changer in that first Super Bowl between these two teams, especially late in the game after the 49ers limited him for most of it. And as Jaevon already said multiple times, the 49ers will just have to double Travis Kelce. And then if you double Travis Kelce, then Rashee Rice, a rookie, has to get involved. Kadarius Toney, if he's active, has to get involved. Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who got booted out of Green Bay, he would have to get involved. And so I'm very confident in the 49ers and also Travarius Moody Ward to match up against all pro. Exactly. And as Moody said, it's better over on this side with the 49ers. And it's interesting because in this game, you have Charles Omenihu on one side on the Chiefs sideline. He used to be on the Niners. He was when the 49ers lost that Super Bowl. And then you have Moody Ward, who was on the Chiefs and won the Super Bowl back in 2020. So it's an interesting contrast. Unfortunately, Omenihu won't be able to play in this Super Bowl. So number one, I'm basing my pick off of the fact that the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill anymore. And I think that is a significant factor. And yeah, Travis Kelce is great in his own right, but you double, triple team him. And also, let's not forget that the 49ers have arguably the best linebacker duo in the NFL. So even if you're having someone in single coverage, like a linebacker against Travis Kelce, Fred Warner ain't no scrub. Neither is Dre Greenlaw. And so I'm confident in both of them matching up against him. And also, the other thing that I wanted to mention is complete polar opposite for how this Super Bowl run has gone in 2024 compared to 2020. And I know that I came on this podcast a couple months ago and I said that the 49ers are going back to the Super Bowl. They will coast throughout the NFC playoffs. Well, guess what? They didn't coast. It was hard. They barely beat the Packers. They barely beat the Lions. And so they didn't coast, but I think that will ultimately be beneficial for the 49ers as they beat the Packers 24-21. They beat the Lions 34-31. I got the 49ers winning the Super Bowl by a field goal as they won both games that preceded it by a field goal. And the reason why I'm confident in the 49ers in this game is, number one, I genuinely believe that Brock Purdy is better than Jimmy Garoppolo ever was. And number two, given the not questionable. But number two, Brock Purdy has proved that he is battle tested. Not only the game manager narrative was going crazy, but everyone kept saying Brock Purdy is always playing with the lead. If he gets down in a game, he's never going to be able to come back. Guess what? He just did it twice. He was down by 17 at halftime. Or was it 17? Yeah, 24-7. He was down by 17. The 49ers scored 27 unanswered points, led by Brock Purdy. He's that fucking guy. And he is going to lead the 49ers to another Super Bowl. I hope it happens the way that Jaevon said, where the 49ers get up early and then they hold on and keep the lead and the Chiefs just run out of time. I would love that. But honestly, the way that this playoff run has gone, and also the fact that they are playing against Patrick Mahomes, who is arguably going to retire as the greatest football player of all time, when it's all said and done 15 years from now, I think that the 49ers get down early in this game. I don't know if they get down 17 because I don't think you get.
I pray.
You don't come back against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs down 17 in the Super Bowl. That's not going to happen. They're not the Lions. All due respect to the Lions. Like Andy Reid will take those points that Dan Campbell passed up in that NFC Championship game. Andy Reid knows better. He will take those points. And then, like, if Dan Campbell took those points, it would have been a lot more difficult for the 49ers because the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan said it himself going into the second half. They knew that they needed to score. They could not go that first drive without any points. Then they had to settle for 3, and Kyle Shanahan even said, yeah, I thought that probably wasn't going to be enough. But then Dan Campbell left the door open. That's something that Andy Reid will not do.
Shout out to the Lions.
But shout out to the Lions. But just in closing, I think that the 49ers are going to get the job done, and Brock Purdy has proven that he can come back, and he will come back if needed. And that's the difference between the Super Bowl in 2020, number 54, and Super Bowl 58, is the 49ers actually have someone who can get up after taking an uppercut, deliver one back, and win the fight, win the Super Bowl. No shocker here. The two 49ers fans have the 49ers winning the Super Bowl. I would imagine Kevin and Garry also have but they have the Chiefs winning it. So we got a split right down the middle. Let us know on Instagram, X, and TikTok who you got winning this Super Bowl. You can find us on X at Stats or Politics, Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics. See all the great content that Kevin is putting out there. So as Jaevon and I start to wrap things up here on episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics with our Power Hour, we got 2 quick hitter segments to close us out, Jaevon. And so now let's get to NFL honors, which were tonight. And we already alluded to a couple of the winners. Here's the whole list. And since we're going to do this in quick hitter format, Jaevon, I'm just going to read off the award winner. You tell me if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, tell me quickly why. Otherwise, if we agree, then we'll just keep it moving. Starting off, NFL MVP, Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson.
Should have been Brock Purdy. No,
man. Yeah, I wanted it to be Christian McCaffrey, as I said 4 weeks into the season, but it's not a award for non-quarterbacks anymore, unfortunately. NFL Comeback Player of the Year, Cleveland Browns quarterback Joe Flacco.
How about Flacco, man? That's crazy. Yeah, I agree with that one.
I disagree. DeMar Hamlin came back from the dead. He's the real-life Undertaker. How does he not win Comeback Player of the Year? Come on. NFL Offensive Player of the Year, San Francisco 49ers running back Christian McCaffrey.
Not a doubt. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that one definitely should have been unanimous. NFL Coach of the Year, Cleveland Browns coach Kevin Stefanski.
Boo. Did not like this one.
Who should have won?
Should have been DeMeco, man. DeMeco got rookie head coach, got to the playoffs with a rookie quarterback. Rookie head coach, rookie offensive coordinator, rookie, I don't know which one. What else does he have to do? I mean, it doesn't make sense. I get Stefanski had a hell of a year. Lost Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson and pretty much willed his team to the playoffs with Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, PJ Walker as a collective group. So in his own retrospect, I get it. That is a tall, very, very tall task in itself. But I think it should have been DeMeco Ryans. I mean, hell, DeMeco beat him in the freaking playoffs. So
yep, you read my mind, and he did not only beat him in the playoffs, they beat the brakes off of them in the playoffs when the Browns were favored in that game on the road. Yep, shout out to the Texans money line, and shout out to my friend Chakota, who is a Texans fan. NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year, speaking of the Texans, defensive end Will Anderson Jr.
Yeah, that's probably, some people will probably argue Jalen Carter. I think if Christian Gonzalez wouldn't have gotten hurt, he probably would have been in the running to win it. But he got hurt pretty early in the season, so that kind of just took him out. So, yeah, Jalen, or why not Will Anderson? I wouldn't have been mad if they would have gave it to Jalen Carter. You could have gave it to either one of those guys.
Yeah, and I'm sure that Kevin was definitely one of the people screaming for Jalen Carter to win that award. Also on Instagram, at Big Salbra 65 said Jalen Carter got snubbed. So there
He's
you
an
go,
Eagles
Sal.
cousin Sal.
Yeah, yeah, makes sense. I can only see the photo like very small on the live video stream,
Green.
but I can
The
see
green.
him. Yeah, exactly. I can see him wearing green. So definitely makes sense. A couple of other Instagram comments. Juan in a million says, "Congrats on baby V loan," and Big Mun, aka Papa Toddy, says, "Purdy about to pull a Joe Montana, 45-28 Niners."
Oh
I
yeah.
love it. I absolutely love it. The other offensive, or excuse me, the other Rookie of the Year award on the offensive side of the ball also goes to a Houston Texan as Ohio State alumnus, QB, CJ Stroud, Coleridge Bernard from the Ohio State University is the NFL Rookie of the Year on offense.
Absolutely. I mean, I just think the only other guy you probably could have given it to was Puka Nacua, who was having
Definitely.
an insane year. But I just think CJ's a quarterback-driven league. Got to the playoffs in the first year, so they're like, yeah, this guy's a magnet. So week one, when the first week started, he was plus 850 odds to win Rookie of the Year. So if you guys jumped on that before the season started, you would have won. Also, I was high on the Texans' win total, which was at 5.5 to start the year. I think they won 10 games, so they surpassed that like middle of the season. So we kind of give out gems during the preseason. You might want to watch our like preseason shows because we said the Niners were going to go to the Super Bowl. We said all this, that, and the third. So just watch out for that. Those preseason episodes that we usually have. Just tune in. We might give you guys some gems.
We sure do. And another Cleveland Brown. This is NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Goes to Cleveland Browns defensive end Myles Garrett, who is also a Texas A&M alum.
I think, shout out to the Aggies because Shaun writes for the Aggies.
Aggies Wire, shout out.
I thought it should have went to TJ. I thought TJ Watt should have gotten this award. He put out a tweet after, I forgot what he said. He said something after they named Myles Garrett the Defensive Player of the Year. But those were kind of the two guys that were in it, I think. Myles Garrett had an insane year, but I just thought TJ, what he was doing kind of year or week in and week out, he was like changing games based off of, their lack of, production on the offensive side. It kind of just turned into a slugfest every week. And I think TJ Watt was the leading catalyst for that defense, for that team. And the reason why they're in a bunch of games, because he would get a bunch of timely turnovers or create a forced fumble or have a pick six or whatever. Like he was doing it all. So I thought it should have kind of went to TJ Watt. I think he has a couple already. Does he have one or two? Maybe two, I think.
I think he has one. Definitely has one. I think he just has the one, and it's JJ who has the three.
Okay, JJ has three. So, yeah, I thought TJ should have won this award, but not shocked that it was gonna be either one of those two between Myles Garrett and TJ Watt.
And I know that I have bias because I write for Texas A&M where Myles Garrett went, but I feel like Micah Parsons says it best because someone named Jersey Jerry at Jerry the Kid 21 on X, who could be anyone. He has a blue check mark, but he could be anyone. Jerry said, another NFL rig job. Imagine looking at this and giving the guy on the left the award because he never won it. And it's a bunch of stats where you're highlighting, okay, TJ Watt has all the stats in green, meaning he leads it. Myles Garrett's all in red, meaning that he's third, and Micah Parsons has a lot of yellow, which means he's in the middle. Micah Parsons quoted that tweet, and Micah Parsons himself said, horrible take. Myles was the better player. Reality of the situation, Myles faced way more double teams and effect on QBs. Fans, please stop looking at stats and look at film, please. AKA, all that said, Micah Parsons said, Jerry, you're a casual. So there you go. Now, moving on here on episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics as we wrap things up with our NBA trade deadline recap. Just real quickly, Jaevon, I'll rattle off some of the major moves from today, but there weren't really any woes or shams bombs. Yeah, it was definitely a snooze fest. Didn't really get any woes or shams bombs, But we did get a Beverly bomb. We did get a Beverly bomb as Patrick Beverly reported his own trade as he was traded from the 76ers to the Milwaukee Bucks for Cameron Payne and a 2027 second round pick. Other deals is the Mavericks added PJ Washington from the Hornets in exchange for Grant Williams, Seth Curry, and a 2027 first round pick. The 76ers acquired Buddy Hield from the Pacers in exchange for Furkan Korkmaz, who was since released, Marcus Morris, and 3 future second round picks. The Suns added Royce O'Neal and basically in swap for a future pick swap in Yuta Watanabe. The Thunder added Gordon Hayward from the Hornets. The Pacers traded for Spurs Doug McDermott. So Doug McDermott goes back to Indiana, and that was in exchange for Marcus Morris. The Knicks traded for Bojan Bogdanovic and Alec Burks from the Detroit Pistons in exchange for Evan Fournier. Don't look up his name. Malachi Flynn, Quentin Grimes, Ryan Arcidiacono, and 2 future second-round picks. The Nets acquired Dennis Schroeder from the Raptors and Thaddeus Young in exchange for Spencer Dinwiddie. And that's basically it for all the major moves. Actually,
the
2 more.
Celtics got Xavier Tillman. Shaun, what is your problem?
Oh, shame on me. I apologize. So there's that. And then the Dallas Mavericks acquired big man Daniel Gafford from the Wizards in exchange for Rashawn Holmes. Shout out to the Holmes family. And a 2024 first round pick from the Mavs via the Thunder. And finally, the biggest deal of the day.
Oh, God.
The Bucks traded Robin Lopez to the Kings and cash considerations for the draft rights to Dimitrios Agravinis. So whoever that is, he got traded for Robin Lopez and cash considerations. And according to reports, Robin Lopez is going to be released. And that's why if you watch the Bucks game tonight, you saw Robin Lopez sitting courtside reading a book because he said, I know I'm not going to Sacramento, so there's no point in me going anywhere. Anyways, Jaevon, as you said yourself, bit of a snooze fest for NBA trade deadline 2024. But what were some highlights for you?
So I'll round off a couple teams. The Knicks getting Bogdanovic for more shooting.
Huge.
And they also got, I'm trying to think who's the guy that I'm missing. You said
Alec Burks?
Alec Burks, another guy who can kind of score off, give you some offense off of the bench. Coming from Detroit. A lot of people don't really watch Detroit, but Alec Burks is a guy who can come off the bench and score for you. Their team will be a lot more filled out once they get there. They got a couple of guys injured. Randall's hurt, OG Anunoby's hurt, and Mitchell Robinson is hurt too. So I feel like once they get their full team healthy and they added Alec Burks and Bogdanovic, there'll be a pretty hefty team going into the playoffs. Another trades that I really liked was from the Dallas Mavericks, getting Daniel Gafford, a guy that can come in and be their backup center, who I'm seeing I gamble a lot on him because he is a glass cleaner and is known for getting rebound is very good for protecting the rim and getting a bunch of rebounds. So
I got him on my fantasy team. I love him.
Yeah. A lot of people gamble and play fantasy basketball. They know who Daniel Gafford is. So he's going to be huge for them. I think it's because, Derek Lively has kind of been in and out of the lineup, hasn't really proven to be healthy throughout the year. So getting him and having stability at the 5 position will be huge for Dallas. And them getting PJ Washington. PJ Washington is a very solid wing. He's young, can defend, and is very athletic. Would like for his 3-point shot to be a little bit better, but Luka's never played with a wing like PJ Washington before, and a lot of people don't watch Hornets basketball. Who does? Unless you gamble or if you have some fantasy with guys on there. They got a lot of young talent, but not very good. But I think PJ Washington will be able to lift a little bit of pressure off of Kyrie and Luka from the scoring perspective. And I think he'll be big for them in the playoffs when they need that third guy to kind of step up and score. Now, I think a lot of people are saying, well, they already have that third guy in Tim Hardaway Jr. But I feel like them bringing PJ Washington in can be you'll see a little bit of more versatility from the Dallas Mavericks. So I thought the Dallas Mavericks did really well. And the last team that I'll kind of touch on is the Oklahoma City Thunder. They added Gordon Hayward. Now, I think OKC could have used a Gafford or an Andre Drummond. They need guys that can be able to rebound the basketball and defend the rim, because come playoff time, that's going to be huge for them. If you can't rebound or can't defend the rim in the playoffs, it's going to be a fucking problem, because as I always tell Kevin on the NBA show that we usually do, the playoff, the atmosphere and the possession slow down. Like, everything slows down in the playoffs. So you're going to need rim protection and be able to rebound. But I think if Gordon Hayward can kind of just add another element to their offense, I don't know if he would come off the bench.
He'd probably come off the bench.
He would probably, he'd probably definitely come off the bench, because I think Jada has been playing out of his fucking mind these past this entire season. So you can give him another element. He needs to. I feel like his 3-point shot, it's not where you would like it to be, but people are posting fucking clips of him, and I saw an X in Utah, and I was like, bro, like, I see Kobe Bryant on the court. Like, what are we doing here? So it's just like, this is not the Gordon Hayward from Utah that I think everybody is hoping that they'll get, but I think it'll be pretty solid for them come playoff time. Can add a little bit of a spark off the bench. So those are kind of the 3 teams that I think probably won the trade. You could maybe sprinkle Milwaukee, maybe just because you're getting Patrick Beverly, a guy who can defend the ball and just provide you that spark that a lot of people need, because Doc Rivers and Patrick Beverly, I feel like they have a particular type of bond, and so he was a guy that you thought that he could kind of go out and help them on the defensive side of the ball. So it was. I thought it was pretty cool that he broke his own trade, being able to control it
through his podcast page too.
So I was like, I don't think that's ever happened before. Like, a player broke that they were getting traded. So I don't know if he went to Woj and said, "Hey, let me get this one," or he was just like, "I'm just gonna break the news." So I thought that was pretty. Not the best trade deadline. It's not like we've seen. I'm trying to think, what was the craziest trade deadline that we've seen in the past? Was it when Kevin Durant got traded? Was that
Kevin Durant?
Was that
Kevin Durant got traded a little earlier prior to that. But I mean, I feel like all the big moves already happened. Like, James Harden got traded to the Clippers earlier this season, and like that would have been the big move if he held out like all of this year. And so, yeah, it really was kind of a mediocre trade deadline. I completely agree with you that the Mavericks, they probably won the trade deadline of all the teams. It was probably the Mavericks. I'm glad that you also touched up on the Knicks, because the thing I loved about the Knicks moves is that they acquired OG Anunoby, Precious Achiuwa, Alec Burks, and Bojan Bogdanovic, all 4 contributors that are immediately into their rotation without trading a first-round pick or a protected first-round pick or anything related to a first-round pick. They didn't have to give it up. And now, apparently, things are really going well within the organization as far as behind the scenes. Jalen Brunson's an all-star. So the Knicks, I really like what the Knicks did between the OG trade. And, I'm glad that I mentioned OG, just because it kind of reminds me, like, in addition to James Harden, OG Anunoby got traded weeks ago. Pascal Siakam got traded like 2 weeks ago. And so, like, all the big names got traded ahead of the deadline. And so that's kind of what led to it being kind of mediocre. And also to touch up on Gordon Hayward being traded to the Thunder. Not only do I think that he can come off the bench and give you 10 to 15 points a game, but I just love that move, because that is such a young team. And he immediately walks in there.
It would be the youngest team in the playoffs, I think.
Exactly. And so he would walk right in there and instantly become one of the locker room leaders, a true veteran that's a former all-star that everyone can look to for advice. And it gives him some light at the end of his career. Like, he's out of Charlotte now. And so now he actually has something to play for. And after his horrific injury, and no one knew how his career would turn out, but the fact that he's still in the league and now he can become a contributor on a playoff team, good for him. I'm happy for him. And the reason I smiled when you were talking about PJ Washington, because, like, feel bad for the guy, because, like, he's such a good player, But all I can think about when I hear PJ Washington's name is I can only think of Brittany Renner. Like that's all I could think about. And so, we'll see how he does on the Mavs.
He's escaping the darkness, Shaun.
He's escaping. So the Mavs definitely won the trade deadline. I will speak on the Sacramento Kings real quickly because even though we're not going to get into evaluating them after 50 games as they're 29-21. Lost to Detroit last night. Thanks for mentioning that again, Jaevon. I thought if I mentioned it earlier in the show, then you would just forget about it. But yeah, they didn't just lose to Detroit. They lost to Detroit by 13 on their home court. Pathetic. But all of that said, the Kings are 29-21 after 50 games. And I saw so many Kings fans, media, all types of people going after Monty McNair. I talked about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs earlier. Let's not forget, Monty McNair is the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA Executive of the Year. Put some fucking respect on his name. Just like the Cody Crybabies were going crazy after The Rock came back on Friday and he went face-to-face with Roman Reigns. The Cody Rhodes Crybabies were going nuts, and The Rock slapped Cody today. And all the Cody I am one of the biggest Cody fans, but all the Cody Crybabies going crazy over The Rock coming back to WWE reminded me of this King scenario with Monty McNair. Everyone going after Monty McNair. He's the Executive of the Year for a reason. Yeah, he didn't make a big deal, but maybe it's because he knows a little bit more than we do. Maybe Mike Brown is telling him, we're good. Let's just hold pat and we'll see what happens. I trust and believe in Monty McNair and the decisions that he's made because he has given me no reason not to. I have all the trust and faith in him. And just like the Cody Crybabies just needed to wait 6 days for them to ultimately get what they want, which is Cody Rhodes versus Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson at WrestleMania. And I'm sorry for those of you who don't care. I just saw one person leave the stream. They don't give a shit about WWE and my analogies. But sorry, this is what it reminded me of. And everyone can whine and cry about it now that the deadline has passed. But I trust and believe in Monty McNair. So I'm interested to see how this turns out for the Kings. Like, they're still 8 games above 500. I know that we're spoiled as Kings fans now that they finally made the playoffs and our expectations are sky high. But I trust and I believe in Monty McNair. Podfather, before we get out of here, do you have any closing thoughts?
Oh, no. I think we kind of covered everything. Just waiting all day for Sunday night. Well, Sunday afternoon, because I think the Super Bowl starts like 3. So.
Yeah, we are on the best coast, a.k.a. the West Coast. And so it's Sunday afternoon for us. I'm looking forward to it. And we will be back on Monday at 7 p.m.
for
episode number 81 of Stats Over Politics. Rain or shine, win or lose, we will be here Monday at 7 p.m. Unless there's a Kings game, it'll be the 3 of us, Jaevon, Garry, and myself. And, that's going to do it for episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. If you enjoy the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats Over Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it as you've been tuned in to episode number 80 of Stats Over Politics. For my guys, Jaevon Toddy, Garry Singh, and Kevin Dent, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday at 7 p.m. for another episode of Stats Over Politics.